Hello, welcome to today's session on AI Playbook, and today we're going to be talking about AI-powered customer service. Now, how do you implement one, customization, and even gaining adoption within your organization? These are some of the things we'll be looking at. For this to be really interesting, we'll be looking at real-world case study, interactive exercises, implementation framework. You will learn how to navigate the entire scope when it comes to implementing AI with customer service. By the end of this very series, you have full understanding about what it takes to have an inclusive customer service, the one that more or less will give you access to more time to understand what is going on with the customer and even achieve more things. For us to really understand what we need to do, this very segment is divided into series. It means that every week I get to release a module. So the module will cover some subjects which I'm going to be revealing to you in the next couple of seconds. Alright, once again, welcome to this very edition. My name is Noah Latoye and I'll be your facilitator in order for us to learn some of these things. Well, my background in technology has been from the past 15 years, where I set out to understand how the technology works. And right from there, I have been able to obtain a series of skills. Of course, AI is part of them, which I'm going to be showing you in the course of these very lessons. Now, through my trainings, I have trained over several thousands of people. I've helped several thousands of people transition into technology, and the goal today as well is to help you in one way or the other to gain efficiency in your customer service experience. Now let's talk about the course structure. Like I mentioned earlier, this very course is broken down into various modules. Because of course, at first I was thinking maybe I could just release a one-off tutorial about the customer service and AI integration. But then I realized that it is even far more than that. It's not something we can just rub on the surface and just let it go. It is important that we understand the technology that truly drive that very functionality and how you can leverage on it, and not just be an employee who just get to manage the tool, but you're also the part of the people who draft out the strategy and also the implementation process. So that's what this course is really about. Talking about the foundation, the theoretical knowledge, to understanding what your organization really need, to actually implementing one for your organization. And that's not all. Optimizing the process and coming up with the knowledge and also the prerequisite that is needed to implement something that will really bring in more resources for your organization. So for us to really have an understanding of how this works, we're going to look at the foundation and strategic alignment of when it comes to customer service. That is what we're going to be looking at today. Okay, so week one, we're going to be unveiling the foundation story. How did we even start from the 80s? How were we able to get to where we are? In fact, where are we right now? And how has all of these things really play out? Just for you to really understand why this foundation story is very important, I will tell you at the end of this very module as to why it is important that you understand how we all started and where we are and where we're going. So those foundation knowledge will guide you through the process, and let's see what we can do together. In module 2, we'll look at assessment and selection. Pretty much in module 2, what we're going to be looking at is conducting assessment within your organization and also making selections. How do you know the right tool to pick, the right tool to integrate with the current existing platform that you have, be it the call center, be it the support center, whatever it is. How are you able to really analyze what your organization need and the tool you need in order to plug in so that everything can work together? So that's what we're going to be doing in module 2. And of course, module 2 will be released subsequently, and you get notification every time I release new module. Now, when we get to module 3 is when we talk about implementation, planning, and management. How do you plan the implementation phase? How do you also manage the implementation? We're going to be doing that the whole of week 4 and 3, so we're going to be looking at how all of these things work. That's not all. When we get to module 4 is where we're going to be looking at the technical integration. Now, what does it really take technically? What are the tools? What are the things? What are the knowledge that you need to have in order to implement those things properly? And how do you have the right conversation? How do you know the right question to ask? How do you even know the right stakeholders to engage? How do you detect whether the platform should be built internally or is something that you guys can subscribe to? All of these things are things that we would take one after the other when we get to module 4. By the time we get to module 5 is where we are going to examine the AI, human and AI collaboration. How does human customer experience and the artificial intelligence, how do they work together? These are some of the things we're going to be looking at, and how you can really leverage on some of this technology to achieve efficiency in everything that you get to do within your organization. When we get to module 6 is where we look at the optimization and evaluation. How do you know that everything that you've implemented are the right tool? It means that even before implementation, you would have drafted out what your metrics will be. So part of what we'll be looking at is how do you track if the investment really worth it? How do you track return on investment? These are some of the things that we'll be looking at. Now, by the time we finish all of these modules, from module 1 to module 6, we're now going to look at a capstone project. So the final project I'm going to be giving you will be something that will really harness and put all of these things together. So imagine you having a document, a standard document that can become your blueprint, that whenever you talk about customer service deployments, at the end of the day, you have a playbook for yourself. And that's pretty much what we'll be looking at. How do you create that playbook in order to deploy for any organization? So you can actually become a consultant beyond just even the organization you're working with if you have this very blueprint. So yeah, it is going to be an exciting moment, and of course it's not going to be as easy as anyone may think, but it's going to really require your 100% participation. One thing I also want you to understand is how do you maximize your learning experience. When we talk about all of these things, yes, of course, this very course can be one of those tutorial where you just take and you dump it, maybe after a couple of days, all you just get to do is, you just get tired. The goal is, I really want you to focus on the main reason. All right. The world is not waiting for anybody. Whether you listen to what I'm about to show you or not, whether you practicalize on it or not, things will still move. People will still obtain new skills and people will still get things done. In fact, you yourself will still get things done. But the question is, what is the quality of what you'll be able to do in the next couple of days, in the next couple of weeks? What kind of value will you be able to add to your organization or anyone that comes in contact with you? All right. And when we look at this whole thing as well, when we talk about customer experience, it is the job of everybody, because at the end of the day, businesses exist to solve customers' problem. If the customers are not satisfied, they are likely not coming back. If they are not coming back, of course, there is no money, there's no inflow for the organization. And when there's no inflow for the organization, of course, you experience layoff. The business at the end of the day will have to close down. So one of the reasons why we run businesses or why we start businesses is to satisfy customers' need. While there are other stakeholders, the king in the room are the customers. And one thing to really understand is the more you can automate the process of making them satisfied, the better for everyone within the organization. So join me in this very lessons and let's dive in as to how all of this thing tie together. To participate in this lesson, all you need to do is just leave a comment. You can ask questions and always look at the bottom description of this very video or of every video in order to get helpful links. Every time there are new things to share, you always get it there. So pretty much, let's dive into our module 1. Let's look at the history together. So what is required of you right now is just make sure you grab your pen and your jotter, take note as possible, and of course ask questions at every point in time. Talking about module 1, first let us set the expectation straight. As mentioned earlier, you expected to complete one module per week, but that doesn't mean you can do more. In the event where you can complete more modules, that's fine. But the goal is not really to rush your learning process. What is most important is that you're making sense out of the stages. So the moment you proceed with the course, you notice that in between there are assessments. Of course, you'll be asked some questions, you'll be asked to carry out some activities. The best way you can get results out of this course is that you practice along. Ask me questions and ensure that you finish what you've started. Let this course not be that part of those things that you started that you never finish. In fact, for this year, let it be that you started this course and you finished it. And of course, just hit me up on the social media at any point in time at NoOlatue. I will really celebrate you because it's going to be a milestone. Practice along with me. Don't just watch me, because sometimes you may think watching and you're understanding what I am saying. You may never tell until you put a practice to it before you really understand that it's not as easy as you're looking at it. In fact, research has shown that we build muscles through practice. So the moment you practice along, all you're just doing is you're reinforcing your memory lane. We are also here to support you. So all you can do is you can reach out to us through all our communication channel. You can send us an email. You can also reach out to the contact form, or you could chat with us direct via our WhatsApp channel. And at every point in time, myself or the team will respond to you accordingly. Now let's look at lesson 1. All right, enough of the pep talk. Let us look at our first lesson. The evolution of customer service technology. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at the historical progression of customer service technologies. Like I said, I will tell you why it is important that you understand the history at the end of this very lesson. First, let us look at the pre-digital era. This era is within the 1950s and the 1980s. At that very point, what you would see oftentimes are call centers and telephone support. You see more like a centralized based customer service, toll-free sort of engagements to more or less democratize the process. It is more around the number of calls. You see metrics around how many customers were called. Most of this era were 100% paper-based. They rely on paper to document everything that is needed. And of course, there are really no standard way of saving anything elsewhere. The more reasons why knowledge as at then, it's more on a manual basis, which means as a representative, your knowledge base just stays within your environment. And one also thing is also limitation to knowledge sharing. Back then, it was very difficult to share knowledge within agents or within representative. So that makes it very difficult to really practice when it comes to the customer experience. And the more reason why oftentimes you see queues, you see frustrated customers. As far as sometimes, I can remember a long time ago when you have to call maybe ISP, internet service providers, you would have to wait sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, because they just need to respond to you manually. And addressing just one customer's point of action could take maybe a representative almost 30 minutes, because such person would have to search. In some cases, the person will have to reach out to someone else. Makes it very, very cumbersome to get information out of the customer service. Moving on to the wave of digitalization. and this era is within the 1980s and the 2000s. That was the very first time we experienced customer relationship management system. And at that point, of course, we find ourselves embracing the digital platforms, and platforms like Salesforce and other pioneering platforms, came up with web-based solution to really help us to manage some of these things. And at the end of the day, we also had interactive voice response system. With these, customer representative are also able to automate the process, which means you could listen to a voice note and you more or less just from one action to the other, you press some buttons and you get some sort of automation within the process. It was still in this same era that we had email support channel. At this point, we had asynchronous sort of communication advantage, which means you can drop messages for customers will see it at their convenient time, respond to you too see it as well, and we're able to communicate all of these things within that period. Of course, there are challenges with all of this, but it was a thing that worked as at then. And when we look at the automation within that time, yes, we achieved some automation, but of course they were not as what we have in this day. From 2000 to 2010 is where we experience multi-channel era. This era is what we know as web-based self-service. You can also refer to this era as knowledge-based. And oftentimes what we experience a lot was more of FAQs and customers forums, peer-to-peer support, and impact on, all of these things really had very huge productivity. The impact of all of these adventures led to productivity within organization. In this era, we also had live chat implementation. It's just a synchronous way, text-based support, early chatbots with rule-based responses, agents efficiency improvements. With these agents, we're able to get more efficiency and improvement. In this era also, we experience social media as a service channel. Organizations leverage on social media in order to communicate effectively on social media, and we had a lot of reputational management, and people were able to create a mood, create a channel that more or less portrays who they really are in the social media space. With this, businesses are able to focus on metric, respond in real time, and also have engagement within their community. Now, let's talk about the current era. The current era, which is from 2010 to 2025, which we are right now. Within that time to the current instance, what you will notice right now is a more sophisticated customer experience. And there are some technology that helped us to really drive this innovation. The first one is what we call natural language processing. With this, we had significant advantage in understanding what the customers are saying. In other words, there are now more technologies that understand context. Imagine somebody is reaching out and a machine understands the essence in which the customer is reaching out. In those days, it wasn't possible. But now, machine can listen to a conversation and understand the actual thing that the customer is looking for. Going forward, we also experience omni-channel integration. With this, we have unified system that relates between communication to another. For example, reaching out to a communication department or a customer service within an organization, they can keep the record, and whenever I reach out again, another communication expert can more or less talk to me and understand the previous conversation, and we're able to resolve whatever issue I had. These are the kind of advantages that new technologies are bringing to us. Also, this era brought about conversational AI platform, virtual assistants, and sophisticated chatbots. These are things that we use today. The likes of ChatGPT, Cloud AI, Gemini. brings possibilities to interact with merchants, and businesses are really adopting these as well. So that your customer will just come and chat just like they're chatting with women. And this has allowed customers to really chat with businesses without really feeling that they're not chatting with actual human. The real thing here is, for a long time, there's been a huge distrust between human and chatbots. In fact, some chatbots are so very dumb that sometimes when you ask them questions, they don't respond positively. So when you look at some of these things, it has caused a lot of distrust between customers and the product. So when we look at how machines has really changed the narrative, right now you can have a native chatbot that really understands the context of your problem, context of the product, and is able to really answer accordingly. And the cool thing about this adventure is that machine can now learn. That a machine cannot respond to you today accurately does not mean that it won't do better tomorrow. So now we are training machine to continuously learn, and by continuous learning, be able to meet customers' need at every point in time. Now let's look at the prevalent AI application in today's customer service. What are the widespread phenomena within the AI space when we're talking about customer service? Automated response or automated inquiry handling is part of the trend that we're experiencing right now in the customer service technology. Right now, businesses now handle queries automatically without human interaction. Another trend is agent augmentation. So right now, you can make recommendations without having to do it manually. You can respond and be assured that your response actually meeting the customer's need. One other thing or one other trend that we're experiencing is it can understand customer sentiments, right? So we can see sentiments in real time. You can understand people's perception. You can understand what needs to be done at every point in time. Another cool thing we're experiencing right now as part of the trend is predictive analysis. You can predict in real time and you can integrate these into existing processes. Final note on the trend is process automation. So there are a couple of things that can be automated within your organization. Those are part of the things we'll be spotlighting during the course of this course. But automation is the spotlight of the advancements when we talk about customer service technology. Now let's talk about the key technology players and solutions available. I've broken this down into three categories. We have enterprise AI players, we have specialized customer service AI, then we have emerging startups and innovation. So looking at the enterprise, of course you have the likes of IBM Western Assistants, you have Salesforce, you have Microsoft, you have Microsoft Azure. These are tools businesses are currently using to meet their customer needs. You also have specialized tools from platforms like Intercom, Zendesk. These platforms give you flexibilities to do some automation right now. And we also have some emerging platforms like Leadboard, which of course you will see more during the course of these very segments. But the cool thing you need to understand about some of these tools is that sometimes you need to know what you really want. Analyzing the real thing that your organization needs before approaching any of this solution is the biggest win you can ever have. And part of the blueprint in these lessons is that we generate one which you can then use at every point in time. Now let's look at implementation success rate. How do you know whether you're successful? Well, it is very important that you understand the industry benchmark. You understand the common implementation pitfall and the success factors. These three things are very, very important. Now, when we talk about the benchmark, of course, what is going to be your return on investment? How do you really achieve customer satisfaction? How do you know that you've achieved efficiency in everything that you're doing? These are really huge questions that you need to ask as a customer service person. Also, you need to understand the common implementation pitfall. In fact, so many people fall within this category. And the first roadblock here is unrealistic predictions. Expectations that in real sense are not achievable. These are things that really cause much failure within the customer service team. Also, talking about the success factor, what are the executive, sponsorship, and change management? Are these people really interested? How do we define clear success metrics? Balancing between AI and human interaction. What is the place of AI within your customer service, and where does human comes in? All of these things need to be well spelled out before advancing any of this technology. Okay, we've spoken about so many things, and it is time for us to do some quick activity. The first task for you is to map your organization's technology adoption journey. Your current state of assessment, document the existing customer service channel and technology, identify manual processes. So this very stage is to identify your current state within your organization. Find the technology gap. Compare your organization and the industry benchmark. Identify capabilities, needs, whatever expectation that customer needs that your company is not currently given. Now, what is also expected of you in this very project is to describe what a futuristic technology-driven customer experience do you want to see within your organization. You map all of these things out, and the cool thing here is that we'll be providing you a template. So all you need to do is to ask questions. Sometimes you may want to talk to some stakeholders. You may also want to look at certain things that are existing within your organization. The first deliverable is to get the documentation template. Ensure that you format it and customize it to what works for your organization. Connect a broader organization objective with everything you're trying to do. And that's how we wrap it up on this very section. To get the full version, the remaining lessons for this very week, just check the link in the description or go to skills.instincthub.com so that you can check the AI-powered customer service technology course on our library, and you'll be able to see the remaining lessons for this week. There you will see the project instruction, you see the template, and you are able to also do assessment attached to every of the segments in this training. And that's how we wrap it up on this one. I'll see you in the next lesson.